Uh-oh, sorry Nintendo. Looks like the Switch 2 is leaking already. It's a shame too, because now we know everything about it. There's a slimmer dock, Hall effect Joy-Cons, and obviously, we have the C button. Wait, the what button? As far as I'm concerned, the externals of the Switch successor have been completely leaked, revealing the dock, controllers, and main body to be mostly the same but with a few design updates. However, there is one change, and nobody understands it. What is the C button? What does it mean? Is there more? Well, that's what we're here for today. See, what secrets does the Switch 2 hold? First and foremost, this is all theory and will remain so until March at the very latest. In fact, I previously made a video discussing why it won't have a gimmick, and to a degree, I don't believe it will. The Nintendo Switch successor won't have smell-o-vision technology. It won't have adaptive triggers or thumbsticks, and it's definitely not going to wirelessly connect to the TV like the Wii U, essentially turning this into a Switch U. Well, hold on. That's not the worst idea. Think of a reversed Wii U. Instead of all the hardware being inside of the console, with the gamepad as the wireless display, they did the opposite and made the dock into a wireless display. Realistically, it's not the worst idea. It could give Wii U games a second chance without sacrificing content, and undeniably, it's nice to simply look down at the gamepad to see the map instead of obscuring the screen. Additionally, DS and 3DS games would become infinitely easier to emulate again, making Switch Online DS possible. What could possibly go wrong if they made a Switch U? Just about everything. I love the Wii U. I do. And I think the gimmick had more potential than the Wii U permitted. But it had its chance, and it nearly killed Nintendo. As funny as it would be, I can't imagine Nintendo copying the thing that killed them the first time. Still, it has potential to be real, but I doubt it. The C could stand for Connect or Cast, but my biggest issue about it is the fact that it's on every single right Joy-Con. If it were just a Wii U mode, it wouldn't need to be on every pair of controllers. I also consider the possibility that it's a way to connect between two different Switches to make local multiplayer easier, but I still don't get why it would need to be on every single controller. Some suggest that it stands for camera, and although I see no evidence of a camera existing on the console, I don't hate the idea. The same way the capture button is only on the left Joy-Con, a camera button on the right makes sense. But even then, how often do you need to take a picture? It's a tough set of details to balance, and nothing seems to make sense. Now at this point, I'm sure you have a question as to where I know any of these details. In reality, none of this is guaranteed. But there is a seemingly legitimate leaker on Reddit who was hands-on with the console and says they'll be posting photos of it today, in addition to several other leaked models of the console on the internet. So by all means, it seems legitimate, which introduces something interesting. Somewhere in the leaker's Reddit thread he mentioned gimmicks, specifically that there's something in the Joy-Cons that relates to lasers, with another big secret that he didn't elaborate on at all. What could lasers mean? My first thought is an IR pointer like the Wiimote, or the sensor on the bottom of the right Joy-Con from the original Switch, but I can't tell if it's actual lasers or infrared. The way the leaker talks about it makes me think it's a mini projector, which would be incredibly cool, but sounds so pointless. I'm sure you guys have plenty of ideas you can leave in the comments, but it's such a foreign idea that I couldn't even begin to think of what they're doing with it. Now for the secret gimmick, who could say? I have one uniting idea for my ideal Switch 2 experience. Multiplayer. Knowing Nintendo, it's not that realistic, but it would be great. Over the last several years, since the Xbox 360 really, console manufacturers have exceedingly cared less about multiplayer and online gaming. Online multiplayer as a whole has barely evolved since then, and games like Halo, once famous for split-screen multiplayer, didn't even include it for the campaign in its latest game. Then, despite being one of the oldest players in gaming, Nintendo has only just barely gotten into online multiplayer in the last few generations, with the Switch being the biggest push. Or should I say biggest tap, since we've gotten a lot more online games, but the networking infrastructure on the Switch is somewhat uncomfortable when it works and utterly miserable when it doesn't. Nonetheless, the online and multiplayer possibilities have been growing, and they have unique advantages over the competition, something Nintendo could capitalize on for the next generation. Going back to the Wii U, people had been begging for the return of Miiverse, and that's the first step to make Nintendo the device to bring everyone together. A social network that's safe and accessible is a dream marketing tool for new games and helps build a sense of community. Even if it's simply shouting into the void, it's fun to make a written acknowledgement of some achievement or cool experience. On that, we need achievements. That's one thing everyone else has been doing, and Nintendo has been sore lacking. Whether it's progression-based achievements or secret hunting, it's always fun to get that little ding when you do something special, and Nintendo could make it even better by incorporating the profile picture items that they sell on the Switch Online app. Lastly, to complement Miiverse, they need a real way to communicate with others. We can't be dealing with player friend codes and phone voice chat that requires a flowchart to understand. And that is where the C button comes in. The biggest thing that I hate when I'm using PlayStation and Xbox is the fact that I have to go through such a big mess of menus and menus to accomplish anything. Maybe it seems insignificant, but when I'm starting a voice chat with people, it takes so much more mental power than it should ever have to. On the Switch 2, this C button could completely remedy that and do so much more. The C button, which stands for chat, or communicate, or connect, or whatever it is your all-encompassing multiplayer button. Pushing it in a normal circumstance opens the player list with all your friends, and from there, you can start a party, invite them to a game, or message them. Simple stuff. Now, you can combine it with a few other things. If you just took a screenshot or video, you can then push the C button to immediately post it to Miiverse with the option to add a caption, making it frictionless to share your games with the greater Nintendo world. If you hold the home button and the C button at the same time, that will open Miiverse from wherever, so you don't have to return to the main menu every time you want to see it. Next is when you hold down the button. I'm not too set on what that should do yet, but the best bet is for it to act as a quick mute, but I'm sure there's something more fun we could do with it. But it doesn't stop there. The button will have a few special circumstances where it can be used. If, for instance, there is another Switch 2 nearby, you can special press the button, probably double tapping it, to either view and friend the main account on the system, or quickly join them in whatever game they're playing. My biggest hope is that they could do something similar as download play from the DS, but with how big games are nowadays, that seems unlikely. All of these combined may seem boring from a distance, but this could be the perfect way to revolutionize the Switch again. It's not like the Switch has that much stuff that needs to be improved upon, and adding some big, overarching gimmick would only distract players at this point. Making the Switch successor into a collaborative experience from near and far could be so much fun. There's just one issue with the whole thing. It doesn't look like the Joy-Cons have microphones on them. So I guess we're sticking with the phone spaghetti. Don't lose hope. The biggest evidence for the Switch 2 having at least something to do with multiplayer hasn't even been announced yet. In the words of the Reddit leaker, the launch title for the Switch 2 has something to do with the number 9. It's anyone's guess. Whatever. You know, I think I figured it out. The gimmick for the Switch 2 is actually a second charging port on the top of the console, which allows you to charge it while using the kickstand. I know, I'm a genius, and I may as well throw away my Switch 1 at this point, because it's completely useless now. Unlike you, who is not useless, and is actually super cool for sticking around and subscribing. Remember to drink water, and as always, keep cool. Merry Christmas!